Coming to Wrinkles Society of Hope. If this is your first time, welcome. And those that are returning, thank you so much. Today, you are going to experience a woman who is courageous with a K share her motivational, encouraging story with you. Now, if you would like to know more information about Wrinkles Society of Hope, go to wrinklesocietyofhope.org. And don't forget, hit subscribe and share our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button so you can hear about the new stories that come every week. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to hear from you all soon. Am here with my sister. I'm so happy to finally get her butt over here. No, I'm joking.
It's factual.
Yes. I am here with the most amazing person in the world that is a boss. So I am, as you see, excited to have her here today. So I even wore my sorority colors for her just so I can bring in all the excellence from my side, because I already know she got excellence on her side. So why don't you introduce yourself to the Wrinkles family?
Oh, well, thank you for such an amazing introduction. I am CeLeslie Boyer, aka Fearless, aka Let's Talk Good Sex. I wear many hats. Like she said, I'm a boss, entrepreneur, relocated here in Phoenix, Arizona from Albuquerque, New Mexico. The bouquet is what we call it, 505. Born and raised in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I reside here now in Phoenix.
Thank you for coming. And so you transferred from desert to desert pretty much, because...
I don't know. Phoenix is a little bit different. People think because we're so close together, it's the same.
Yeah.
We get all seasons, and winter is the longest season. And the reason why I say that is because my birthday is in April, and it snows in April. So
in Albuquerque, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it can get, well, if you ask somebody from the East Coast, Midwest, it's nothing, but West Coast, it's a lot. So it's kind of like Denver in a sense. So,
well, see, I'm learning something today as well, because I did not know that. I just visualized Albuquerque desert, just like Arizona desert. But we don't get 4 seasons here.
Right. The highest that you'll get in the summertime is 95, which is nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing, because we were 111 one week. Like, come on now.
Listen, we could take on this.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. So this is my girl, as you see, with this young, fresh face with not a wrinkle in sight physically. So I don't know how would you feel whenever you get a wrinkle physically? How you think that would impact you when you see that for the first time? Maybe many moons from now, but
I mean, I'm, borderline halfway mark to 40, so I don't know. But I don't really know, because my family thinks I'm weird, because I was super, like, when I tell you super excited when I got my first gray hair. So I don't know. Like, I was ecstatic, and I can tell you it's like right in here, and that's the only one right now. I'm, waiting for the rest to come in. I can't wait. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be excited about a wrinkle.
What made you excited about the gray hair?
Well, when I think of gray hair, especially like being a Black American woman, it's like, I don't know. It just gives that extinguished look. I don't know. It's just wisdom. I don't know. I just love it. Like, I admire like women. I call them seasoned women.
Yeah.
That have like all the gray hair. They let it grow in. They don't dye it. I don't know. It just gives them a certain uniqueness. Just like, oh my God. I don't know. I know it's crazy, but I get excited.
I mean, mean, maybe it's crazy, but it's not, because you're embracing it, like you said. And I know many times we talk about the seasons women, and it does wreak wisdom when you see that woman who's embracing getting older. So, if you're excited about it, I'm here for it,
Yeah. I don't know,
some of us are not, but that's okay.
like, my mom was like, really? And my sister, my middle sister, who is 4 years younger than I am, she's got a lot of grays. And I'm like, I'm so jealous. And she was like, I just want to dye them and take them out. No, don't do that. I mean, granted, she's only 31, but
Yeah. So when you start getting it, eventually, if you do, because, you only got one still, you start getting a little more, you think you will still be as excited?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good to know. Because I wouldn't.
Yes.
And just like that, with life, we get a gray hair that'll pop up or a wrinkle that'll pop up, but we also have like emotional wrinkles that'll pop up in our lives that we have to press through. Can you share a wrinkle that's popped up in your life that you had to press through?
Ooh, Lord, I don't even know where to start. But I would have to start I want to mainly start like at adolescence, going into the preteen, and then the teen, the short version. As many people know, I grew up in the church, PK kid, musician, praised it. We're all the hats. And what people don't understand when you're in those situations, I don't want to say situations, but those positions as an adolescent, you deal with a lot of judgment on top of what you already deal with on a normal basis. And just working through the low self-esteem, the confidence, and building that confidence amongst your peers has put me in a box for so many years where just dealt with a lot of low self-esteem, depression, without knowing that I was dealing with depression until I was about 15 years old when I had my first breakup. And I really felt at that moment that I wasn't worth anything, And then most people are like, oh, it's just a breakup. There's many of boys, you're only, 15. But it's like, I really took that to heart because I was not only grew up in the church and like stood out and had to, live up to a certain standard for people. I also was an abandoned child. And when I say that, my biological father wasn't around, so I didn't know who he was. So I dealt with a lot of rejection at a younger age. And the positive out of that, God had placed a very amazing man in my life that married my mom and took me in as his own. So I still had that father figure, and a man that loved me because of who I was and didn't separate the two, or this is not my kid or whatever, but you still deal with that emptiness of your true identity. And I dealt with a lot of untruth identity because I didn't know who I was or what I was doing with my life. The saying, keeping up with the Joneses, and trying to be apart when I was set apart. And I was told that all my life, that you're set apart for a reason and you're unique. But it's hard even sometimes, but like especially teen adolescents, because you want to be a part of the crew. I know I sound really old, but the crew, you want to be or the clique is what they say. I don't know if they do that now, and it's hard because you stand out different. You have a different personality. Not everybody adapts to that. But it was really hard, and it bled into my adult life where I still struggled with my self-esteem, where I was ashamed of my forehead, my lips. It was bad. And it was like, and most people, they try to fix things like lipo and, restructure things. But number one, I don't put myself through unnecessary pain. So I was like, this is what you get. I have to work, I have to work through it. So, so I would have to say the biggest wrinkle in my life was dealing with self-esteem issues and depression, suicidal. And it was rough because my first suicidal attempt was at the age of 15, right after my first breakup, because I just felt at that point I wasn't worth anything. So yeah.
Powerful. Yeah, and there's so many people, and especially young girls, that so many people tell them, like, your little breakup, it doesn't matter. How many times do you hear that? Oh, you're still young, instead of somebody validating their emotions and what they're going through.
Right.
Even as adults, we do that sometime. Oh, it's going to be okay. In the church, you hear a lot. Well, it's God. You have to have faith. It's going to be, you shouldn't be sad because you have God.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's easier said than done. And it's like, we're human and we have emotions. And I think that's a lot of the issue that religion or the church doesn't realize. You got to work through those emotions to actually practice the positive and to get there. And that's one thing I had to learn in my adult life, because I got to the point where I hated repeating cycles. And I was, like I said, I was that kid, church from Sunday to Sunday, playing an instrument, singing, praise team, all this stuff. But I never really had that balance or understanding where I could deal with my emotions. So I would compress them with, church. Believe it or not, I used to spit bars. I was a local New Mexico gospel Christian rapper.
What?
And and I have a love and heart for music, period. So that's where I would release my pain majority of the time, would, be on stage. Like, it was like my own little world where nobody could say anything. But when I got off stage, I still had to deal with my reality. And it's crazy how, like, you hide behind, certain things instead of, again, working through those emotions and, still finding comfort in the things that you're passionate about and that you love. But I've learned that you find more compassion and you're more passionate about your gifts and your callings when you deal with your reality.
Oh, that's amazing. That's true. That's true. And I think that's the biggest thing you said. Like, you were on stage, you had that mask and you could just be that person that you need to be on stage. But off stage, sometimes we hear all the time growing up that it's going to be okay so much that you just say, okay, it's going to be okay, instead of actually facing it and dealing with it and getting help for it.
Listen, I am saved and I have a therapist. I love the Lord, but I have a therapist.
Say it again and say it loud and proud. Okay.
Right. Listen. Oh, like,
I say a lot when I work with patients and clients that God gives us everything on earth, right? So if he gives us emotions, if there's a word for every feeling that we're going through, then God is allowing us to go through those feelings because he gave us a definition for that emotion.
And then, like, what people don't recognize about, like, this is the stories in the Bible is, like, there were people in place to be counselors, not what we think is a counselor, but if you look at Moses, you look at Paul, even though Paul was crazy, you look at David. I mean, they've gone through their tests, but they also were in place to be counselors, not just people that just gave word or prophesied or whatever. One of my favorite books in the Bible, because I can relate to him very much so. And I say this because my first sermon at the age of 10 was titled, "Why Me?" because I felt like, okay, the typical law, my dad's a preacher, I want to do it. I just thought it would be because I like to talk. So, and it's like, well, maybe this will help me, build my confidence. This will help me get people to understand who I am. Granted, I was looking at it the wrong way, but my first title of the sermon was Why Me? And it was Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 7, where he basically is running and Jesus is basically telling him, like, look, God formed you in the room. Like, I knew you was what you was gonna be before you knew what you was gonna be. Yeah. And it's like crazy because all the journey that he went through and fought. And I was a fighter because I was like, listen, when it got hard, I was like, okay, Jesus, you can go ahead and take this away. I don't want this. But I would always find myself ministering in whatever capacity that I was doing, whether it was rapping, whether it was singing, whether it was, I don't know, Sunday school, whatever it may be. Because Sunday school was actually one of my favorites, believe it or not, because my mom was a Sunday school superintendent. And so we had to know our lessons. Like, you bet not go to Sunday school class not knowing the memory scripture and what the lesson's about. And one thing that I loved about it is that because I studied and I was able, I can share this, but it was also a fact because I'm different and I would be too deep, like, whoa, we're taking it too far. And I'm like, man, and it used to discourage me because people would just look at things on the surface. But I was like, but if you look at it like this way, like, that doesn't make sense. It does make sense. You just don't want to make it sense. So, but I just I relate to Jeremiah is like my favorite character in the Bible.
Oh. Now, I mean, the fact that some of the things that you've been through and you look back at that moment, what would you tell yourself to get through that moment of, your boyfriend breaking up with you and you being so down and depressed? What advice would you give her?
I would encourage myself by using words of affirmation for myself, that I'm wonderfully and beautifully made, and that I'm fearless. Like, that's why fearless is, as you can see in the background, faithfully forgiving and fearless. Just being faithful to myself. Sometimes we are not faithful to ourselves. We're faithful to everything else, but we're not faithful to ourselves. We're not consistent with ourselves. And I'm a big believer about self-care. Sometimes I have to practice what I preach because I can go, and without resting. And that messes you up, like your health, your mental. And it's like, okay, I got to sit back because I'm being everything to everybody else, but myself. And one of the things that I really am adamant about, you cannot love or you cannot do on an empty cup. Like, your car, it's like a car. I'm notorious for this. I gotten better, but I would drive on E because I was too lazy to go to the gas station. But your car can only go so far without gas. Yeah. But not only you're messing up, I don't know too much about cars. I'm not a mechanic, but obviously you're messing up your car. And it's just like our bodies. If you don't fuel your body, if you don't fuel your mind, you can't be anything to nothing. Like, you can't be a job. You can't be a boss. You can't be a mom. You can't be a wife. You can't be whatever else, whatever hats you wear if you are running on E. And I had to learn that the hard way because it was one point in life I gained 260 pounds, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Because I was giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. People were taking and taking and taking and taking. And to the point that I was like, okay, this stress is crazy and I'm going to eat myself to make myself feel better. But I was doing things unhealthy. I was drinking like 24 cans of Dr. Pepper a day. Eating unhealthy. Anything unhealthy you can think of, that's what I was eating.
So many people do that and don't even realize that they're stress eating and they're using that food to cope because they're used to being those people who run on fumes.
And the crazy part about it is after I had kids, it switched, because when I would run on empty, I wouldn't eat. So there was one point in, I want to say 2022, even before that, I would look like anorexic because I wouldn't eat, because I'm stressed. I'm running. But after I had kids, it flipped the script where I was stress eating. I was like, this is not like me. I just don't eat. But it happens. Like, it finds another way to, like, okay, let me get you on this.
Yeah.
Or let me get you on this, and you don't do this no more.
How do you find that balance? Because, I mean, when people start getting to know you, they're going to see how amazing you are and so many things that you do. But how do you find that balance? Because you're very busy. I mean, I know you personally. So I know you are very, very busy. So how do you find that balance? How do you grab that self-care out the air to keep yourself on the straight path and balanced out?
Well, it's still a learning process.
You think?
It is, you know, being a mom of two beautiful girls who are very active, and fitting my schedule with their schedule, because I can't fit my schedule. They can't fit their schedule with my schedule. It's just honestly just learning to say no. Because like I said, I'm a giver. So I had to really learn how to say no, and not just no to other people or other things. I had to say no to myself.
Oh,
Because I'd be like, well, if I don't do this or I don't get this done, it's not going to get done. But it will get done when I can get to it. I got to fix this and fill this up before I can do it, because it's not going to be done the way it needs to be done if I'm struggling trying to get it done. And then it takes me longer to get it done because I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm tired, you know. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned just in the last, I want to say 4 years, is telling myself no. Somebody asked me, hey, you want to come, da 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 da, or can you do this? How am I feeling right now? Or what's my schedule looking like? Or, you know, I got to stay mindful. Because I hear just recently started having heart problems. So I have to be mindful of my body, because if I'm not functioning right, it affects my heart, and I can't function for my kids. So, so it's just really saying no. If I had to pick one word to pull the self-care out, is telling yourself no. And it makes it easier to tell everybody else no.
I love it. I love it. We definitely need to do that more, pointing to myself.
And it's easier said than done.
So, yeah. So, because we're used to doing and for everybody, but I love that you check in with yourself. I think more people need to do that, because we don't do that often. You know, we just keep adding on to our list, and it's like, oh, I got to do this, this, this. And then by the time you get home, it's, how did I get through that day? But you're on fumes. You don't have any gas left at all.
Then grouchy and you just mad for no reason. It's amazing, because I'm starting to notice this more and more as I've gotten older, is that even though I hate short naps, but even a 30-minute nap changes your life.
Yeah. I even took an 8-minute nap one time, and I felt like life.
Right. Over. This is all I need, you know? And I'm like, you know, those 30-minute naps, 15-minute naps, it's like I feel like the Energized Bunny again. Like, so I got recharged.
They call them power naps for a reason.
I just like nap, especially if you like get into that good sleep, and then the alarm or the kids or something, I'm like, dang, I was there and I don't want to get out of it.
Yeah, definitely. But energize you up, especially if you schedule it right, set the timer on your phone and go into sleep, get in that comfortable position. It can save your life. Note to everybody. If you don't take a power nap once in a while, try it.
Naps are great. told my kids, I'm like, listen, naps are God-given heaven.
Yes, exactly. And as we power through life and we move forward, I mean, all the things that you're looking at now and the woman that you are today, let's say you got another t-shirt made, because we know you got some t-shirts. What would that t-shirt say to describe who you are today?
This right here. No more silent church girl.
No more silent church girl. Why is it saying that?
Because for many years, I have been silent about a lot of things, a lot of hurt, a lot of mixed emotions, unforgiving, and fearful, and hiding behind, the hurt, the mistreatment, the rejection, and a lot of times we don't speak up. And like I said, I grew up in the church, and we hide behind the doctrine. We hide behind our callings. We hide behind, we hide behind the pulpit. We hide whatever we can hide behind. We compress what we really need to deal with to flourish and, be able to function just in life, period. Not necessarily for other people, but just for ourselves. We don't talk about the realistic things such as sex, abuse, self-esteem, suicide. We don't talk about those things. And a lot of us in the church have dealt with it, are dealing with it. And it's more of a hush, let's not talk about it because, God's got it, or you can pray about it. Yeah, you could do those things, but there's also things that God has set in place for us to work through those things. Like you said earlier, like resources, therapy is one of them. And, but I learned not to be silent anymore and talk about, my struggles, even my struggles now, currently, not being ashamed of who I am and who I am becoming. One of my favorite scriptures is Isaiah 48:18-20. And just to paraphrase, it talks about forget about the formal things. Don't dwell on your past. Mm-hmm. And I dealt with that for so many years where it affected everything in my life, career. It affected my marriage. It affected like my romantic relationships after that, where I didn't know how to love myself. And I was trying to love in relationships. And it not only hurt me, but I also did damage to the other person because I was so broke. And because it was more of, I know how to compress it where nobody sees the scars, nobody sees the hurt, nobody sees the rejection, nobody sees the abuse that I either caused to myself or it was done towards me. And you don't realize when you're transparent with the little things, what people are going through and what somebody needed to hear.
So true. That's so true. That's powerful. And I think more and more, if we actually stop being silent, that we can start healing.
Yes. That when I stopped being silent, and believe it or not, it was in 2018, I had went to Gateway Church with my cousin who attends there, and they did a Kairos worship service. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what is that? What is this? But it was a place where you could come and literally just lay everything wherever you're at and deal with it. and it was a safe place.
Mm.
I had just got out of a very toxic relationships, or I should say relationships. Um, and it was the worst breakup. It was actually worse than my divorce.
Mm.
And I had told myself that I cannot damage another person.
Yeah.
So I had to really sit back and say, hey, let's work on you. Let's teach you how to self-love. Let's teach you how to be able to function and not compress your issues or hide behind relationships.
Mm.
And it was life changing. I took a whole year just all about me. And it was the best thing I did for myself. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things because I talk about her all the time. I hope she sees this. But her name is Nancy Houston. And she helped me navigate through all my favorite and passionate things. And that's why, like, I love the fact that she's a Christian and she's a sex therapist. And she talks about it in a very healthy way. She's actually over the marriage and intimacy department at her church. And she, you know, of course, she has a clinic. She's a licensed counselor therapist, but she's a Christian, number one. Two, you know, we don't talk about sex in church. We don't talk about the true intimacy. And what's so crazy about it, it's like one of the best gifts God has like given us. And we use it in a negative way, or we've been taught to be quiet about it. And that's why you see a lot of young women, and not just young women and young men, dealing with sexual abuse or using it as a tool to hurt themselves and hurt others.
Yeah.
And that's also something that I dealt with. But I just don't like being silent, you know? So there's so many things to me. Like, there's so many stories that, like, I feel that can relate to whoever.
I love it.
And it's like, I don't have to go through the same thing you went through. What I went through, I can share with you, and it has the same outcome. Like, we out here winning, you know, DJ Kyle, you know, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. So it's like, people look too much into, well, my story doesn't have any, you know, power to it, but you have a story that's powerful itself.
Yeah.
And you eliminate people going through what you're going through or what you went through by just telling your story. Like,
so much. And now that you're speaking and not silent anymore, what are you doing in the community? What things are you giving to people and helping people with?
Self-love, self-care, self-intimacy. That's one thing I've learned over the past 4 years is, well, not 4, 2 years, or 3 years. I'll say 3, give or take, is self-love and self-intimacy, loving on yourself. I've even helped my girls, and friends and people that I'm connected to, like my girls and I, in our bathroom, you walk in the bathroom, there's stickies all over the mirrors with words of affirmation or quotes of our favorite quotes, or, you know, just something positive. Because I feel that when you see these things, especially on like, I kid you not, I don't care what nobody says, you can have the worst day ever. I walk into my bathroom and I look at the mirror, and I might just look at something that I just wrote out, and it encourages me. And it's like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I got it now, but I got it. And I'm like, and it really taught me how, because I'm not going to lie, could not stand when people say, well, there's always tomorrow. And I'm like, it is, but I don't want to think about tomorrow. I want it done today.
Yeah.
Like, why is it working? But like, when I got the concept of because especially we as women, especially single parents, like we super Wonder Woman, we're going to get this done. And if we don't get it done, it's the end of the world. And it's like, you got to look at what was done. Yeah. Whether there was nothing done, you're still breathing, you're still alive, get up and try again. I'm like, I hate that saying, but now I love it because you can get up and try again.
Yeah, exactly.
But that, and then just, spreading my story, sharing, I could be at the movies randomly talking to somebody and it just turns into like, oh, you're dealing with this. I've dealt with that, just being that encourager. So.
And you have a book coming out?
Yes, slowly but surely. It's been in the making for the last 2 years. It's actually in the publishing house right now. Praise Publishing Company. Yay, I love them because they have been super patient with me. Super patient. And so we're looking towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. Because it's actually going to be a package deal. Along with No More Silence Church Girl. And a second book called Love After Divorce. So part one, because part two, good Lord may send you a good old husband. So it's coming. Part one, it deals with dealing with you and how to get through the process and how to become a better you. And instead of living in the issue of, okay, I'm a failure because I'm in a divorce. And I probably could never love again. And, the typical things that women and men think about divorce, and definitely touching on co-parenting piece. Me and my ex-husband, he is the best co-parenting person I've ever granted, he's the only co-parent, but like I would not change our co-parenting relationship for the world. And I appreciate, who he is to my daughter, but I also appreciate to the fact that we're able to work together through our feelings and communicate in a healthy manner, even through our feelings. And again, it goes back to dealing with you and, not just getting over it.
Yeah.
But dealing with it. And I had to deal with it because I went from a divorce to a relationship and came out more damaged than I did going into the second relationship. And I had to learn and I had to rebuild myself and take things as lessons and not as a punching bag.
Yeah.
And that's when, things bleed into other relationships because you really haven't dealt with. And I tell people all the time, and I'm pretty sure everybody else says it too, hurt people
all day.
I'm like, I'm tired of hurting myself. Excuse me. I'm tired of myself. I'm tired of hurting people. It's like, it's that cycle breaker.
And can you tell people you have your sign behind you, motivational speaker, things that you're doing with Fearless? Let people know how they can connect with you and what all the things that you do with Fearless.
So Fearless is an overall umbrella, mainly for basically my slogan's faithfully forgiven and fearless. Jeremiah 29:11, like I told you earlier, I relate to Jeremiah a lot. And so Arthur, motivational speaker, sex and wellness educator, and entrepreneur. Mentioned books coming out towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. Speaking, conferences, seminars, church groups, small church group, women groups, everybody, men, women, anybody, children, anybody. Because my story, like I said, it fits every age group. Sex and Wellness Educator. They call me the doc of Let's Talk Good Sex. And you can find my page on Facebook called Doc Let's Talk Good Sex. You can also find that on Instagram as well. Just giving tips and, nuggets of how to self-care, self-intimacy, and how to love your partner in a positive and healthy manner. Because it's one thing that I've learned throughout, my marriage and being divorced. What did I not do? And again, it starts with you. And how sex is okay. It is okay, people. It is okay. It's a great thing. You just got to use it in a healthy manner. And entrepreneur. I help people build businesses. I help people navigate through the challenges, mainly focusing on music, because I'm a lover of music. So I deal with contracting. I deal with artist management, building, developing business plans for different aspects of music, as well as, regular entrepreneurship. I don't want to say regular because, people are not regular, but just different businesses and help them be confident in themselves, bringing new ideas. I'm a out of the box thinker. I've embraced the fact that my ideas are very unique and challenging sometimes, because you gotta like things that have never been done. So, and I like that because it makes me very unique and different. So, but yeah, that's really it all in a nutshell. Like I said, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. It's called Fearless Speaks, as well as Two Management, which is Jeremiah 2011. I want people to believe that they do have an unexpected end, and they can do whatever they put their minds to. And I have to tell myself that sometimes a lot, sometimes less, but I definitely have to encourage myself to encourage other people that they can do above and beyond, regardless of what, whatever it is. So anything is possible.
Anything is. And you definitely are a motivator, encourager, and always have those out the box kind of ideas. She's being modest, but she does an amazing job because she is the person that I go to for my Wrinkles. And you see, Wrinkles is still going because she has motivated me and pushed me all the time and gave me some ideas out the box, even though sometimes I don't follow up. But she does help me through so much.
Still going. It's like,
Yeah. So as you see, all these links have been popping up. Get connected. If you have an idea, especially when it's related to music, this woman has done dynamic things out here working with some amazing people, and she can work with you and help you. So all the links are here. And also, let's talk about sex. Let's go. I think, of course, there are so many people in and out the church that intimacy is an issue in relationships and marriage and things like that. And there's women and people out here that can help you. Let her help you in your intimacy department, because sometimes your past can be affecting your intimacy. And sometimes just the fact that you've been told that sex is kind of taboo growing up in the church. So the church girl is no longer silent. So she's ready to talk to you and give you things and tools. We all need tools to help us get through to the next level. And so let my girl help you out. So Miss Lady, thank you so much for coming to the Wrinkles family today.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
I'm super excited. It's always fun here in the Wrinkles world. Even though you happy about gray hairs. But whatever. We'll deal with that later. But anyway, Thank you. Follow, and when her book comes out, we will definitely be posting that on wrinklesocietyofhope.org. So you can purchase that as well. Of course, we'll be promoting her and get her to come speak at your church. Look on her page. She has some speaking engagements that she has spoken before, blessing churches, businesses, schools, women seminars, things like that. Bring her in so she can speak to your people. All right. Bye, Wrinkles.